So Patrick is our newly appointed at-large member, and he reminded me that he and I met back in 1993. I did not remember, but I remembered after I saw it, looked at my log, but he was one of my last students. In fact, the last student I ever signed up for a check ride before I went to the airlines. He came to Gainesville to do his commercial multi-engine add-on.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
In our delightful little Seneca.
Oh, you know what? I got one
An
down there
airplane
for you
ball.
already, actually. Thank you.
Are you trying to double dip, aren't you?
Haven't seen you. Oh, there he is.
I see.
Look at you.
How are you?
How are you, man? Sign your life away, if you don't mind.
Do we get a paycheck if we send this?
Oh, yeah. And as a matter of fact, because it's the first meeting of the fiscal year, it's double.
I thought that was, you told me it was the waiver, so I don't get a check. Did you give him my check?
I need it. Do you need this?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Things are expensive. Aren't they though?
Good morning. How's you doing?
It's half the day, that's all.
Speaking of multi,
Oh, okay, I put it on the wrong
you need
podium.
to get back to work.
Sorry?
Speaking of multi-engine, you need to get back to work.
Why?
We're wearing out that Dutchess.
Usually
Really?
it's just if they're gonna,
Okay,
if they're
I
gonna
haven't seen
speak.
much of any activity on the schedule lately. That's how I tell if there's a need for me. I mean, the only thing I could do with the twin is, like that one guy that already had a private multi and wanted to upgrade it to commercial multi. I was able to do that.
That's pretty much all there is.
An extra.
Really?
It happens every time. I print 20, no one takes any, I print 8.
Everybody shows up.
Heck, I can do that.
I had 4 in the last
Well, you know, I think it was the routing
26
group
hours.
before us that did that.
You,
When you get back
late
there,
to
I'll come
everything.
in. What are you doing?
We weren't very rowdy.
Because it's there.
Figured.
He's not here.
You know, a couple of years ago, I just happened to see, I was scrolling Facebook and I saw this ad, Swoop Antarctica it's called. And they advertise all these different, look, all right, so talk to Trish and,
Probably a good idea to do it in the summertime.
yeah. It's warm. I don't think you even can go down to that is to say the cruises end around March or something like that.
Is it a cruise?
It's a cruise, yeah.
I want to go to Antarctica and Mongolia. There are 2 places I want to go.
Mongolia, what's there besides Mongols?
No way.
Gobi Desert.
Beef, Mongolian beef, rice.
Good call, Mongolian beef. That's good stuff. I think, you know, when they butcher the cow, it actually comes that way. All you have to do is cut up the meat, saute it, and it comes out with that flavor. I've made that at home, and it's pretty darn good. I've also made bang bang shrimp pasta. I kid you not.
We love bang bang shrimp, but
Yeah, putting it in a pasta. So it's not batter fried. It's just sautéed with then the bang bang sauce. And we use ramen noodles. So we took a couple of packs of ramen noodles, threw away the spice that comes with it, just cooked up the noodles, and then stirred the bang bang shrimp into it. It was delightful.
I bet it was.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Our daughter.
Sorry, Reese is on his way for the,
Okay. How long will he be? A while?
a minute.
A minute? Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries.
There's a big traffic jam down there on 44.
Well, there's a traffic jam upstairs and we got a problem. Yeah. There might be, I don't know.
There's a bunch of cones up and it's down to 1 lane.
There is?
And nobody's working.
Yeah, right, okay.
Were you coming from Crystal River?
Yeah.
He's in Inverness, so he's gonna start crossing and getting into, he's going down the road, I think.
Did they have single lane for you when you came through?
Rachel, you ready?
Yes,
13 seconds to go. Not Rachel, Hannah, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
My mistake.
We gotta get her a name tag.
Yeah, it would be great if you and Todd had name tags. That way when us elderly gentlemen, won't be so inclined to forget.
I might forget.
You should have a lot of credit.
I gotta put this around this one.
Okay, middle-aged. How's that?
I'll get right on that.
So I remember my own name.
Here he is. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. I get to say that since I wasn't here last month. My wife took me to Africa, and who was I to say no? So, I hereby call the February meeting of the Citrus County Aviation Advisory Board to order. If I could have everybody join me, please, in standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. As we do in the February meeting, this being the first meeting of our AAB year, we've got 3 members that need to be sworn into office. That is to say, Mr. Kringle and I have been reappointed to our relative positions, and we've got a new member, Mr. Patrick Crippen, 2 folks to my left. Whenever you're ready, sir, we'll be happy to stand up and pledge our further allegiance to something else.
You can stand up and raise your right hand. I'm a little under the weather, so sorry. All right, just repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Heiko Kallenbach,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
that I will support, protect, and defend
support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
and that I'm duly qualified to hold office
that I'm duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will faithfully perform and accept
faithfully perform and accept
the duties of a member of the Aviation Advisory Board,
the duties of a member of the Aviation Advisory Board,
on which I'm about to enter.
of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you very much. All right. Members of the board. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I have to sign this. Oh.
Licenses and sign it.
Did you still wonder if it's been revoked?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for your indulgence, folks. Members of the AAB, have you had a chance to review last month's minutes?
Sir?
Any questions, edits, concerns? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Charlie?
Second.
Mark, second. Thank you very much. Discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion to approve the minutes from the January 9th meeting are approved. I think we have some people that would like to speak today. So in order, take your turn, take your time. Come on up.
Excuse me, Heiko, did we do roll call? Pardon me.
My apologies, Barry. It's been 2 months since I've done this. I forgot the whole thing.
Okay.
Please.
This is a regular meeting of the Aviation Advisory Board on this 13th day of February 2025. In attendance, we have Chair Heiko Kallenbach. I'm saying it right. I'm sorry.
That's me, yep.
Vice Chair George McDonald. Board Member Carl Douglas Flanagan.
Here.
Board Member Mark Klingel.
Here.
Board Member Gene Davis.
Here.
Board Member Charles Carr,
Here,
and Board Member Patrick Crippen.
Here.
We also have in attendance Todd Regan, Aviation Project Manager,
And,
and Recording Secretary Hannah Petty.
very nicely done. Please, sir.
Hi, Barry Simons, President EA Chapter 1674. I'd just like to give an update that we've did another Young Eagles successful flight this past, or a couple weeks ago. It was very cold, but we still had kids show up and had a good time, and we've also been seeing some repeat coming back, so we're making a difference, getting kids coming back more than once. You know, they're really enjoying it. We've done over 100 flights so far, and we're continuing on to do, keep doing these throughout the year, and hope to keep getting more kids involved in aviation. One other question is, I guess from maybe Todd, is the signage we talked about several months ago about, is there any update on that, a possibility of when it's going through? I know it was
Are you talking about in particular the signage that you're requesting for young,
for EA
for
chapter.
EA chapter?
Yes.
Yeah, that's part of the design for the airport
Okay.
signage and landscaping. I am working towards that,
Okay,
but there's no new updates yet.
all right, same thing. Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Good morning.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jan C. And I have a statement with 5 questions, and I will give a copy of this so that I can get some answers to the questions. I don't expect you to know today. Maybe you do, but, I don't expect that. All right, so I'll start out. It's new for me, but I'm going to do this. I live on Fresno, and my property is about 7 nautical miles from each airport. So I'm kind of like right in the middle. Not in the, in the middle of where their zones are. And you'll see that when I put my longitude and latitude on here to help you guys see maybe what I'm seeing. I'm going to just read it now. Okay. Choosing Florida's Nature Coast was a well-researched and expensive transition, investing everything here in Citrus County. We are located about 7 nautical miles from both Inverness and Crystal River, in between the airspace of both airports. As observers working on our homestead, way too often we experience low-flying aircraft that sound like they're in trouble heading toward Crystal River. Many of these fixed-wing aircraft end up figuring out they're too low, and then they increase their intensity of disturbance right over us while we're working on our property and doing things. And I have on this paper, which you guys can all get a copy of, it's 2 examples just from last week that were, one was very it was a PA-44, and it was crazy. So, maybe not for you guys, but I didn't have earpieces on and all that. Awareness of where you are, taking responsibility for your vehicles, what your vehicle is spewing, is each of our responsibilities. Even if our 3-letter agencies approve a plane for airworthiness, this does not exempt anyone from the harm that they cause in their wake. Airplanes are loud, and everyone knows this. Okay. Things that are loud are and intrusive on our lives are nuisances and can clearly cause harm. The privilege and freedom of flying over living things who are recreating, resting, or working on their homestead requires each pilot, whether a capitalist, hobbyist, or trainer, to be diligent in their travels. What we have seen here is concerning and should be addressed within the flying community, sharing remedies far and wide with transparency as the plans for growth proceed. Public subsidies injected provide funding which is paid by us in many ways via taxes, which seem overlooked and take it for granted when looking at our skies. Pilots in general choose where they travel with a heightened awareness of where they are, and when they are over a neighborhood which is obvious from a bird's eye view, using line of sight, they then fine-tune and approach accordingly instead of what we've seen. We would like to connect and share and find remedy for this. So these are the questions, guys, okay? Explain flight paths we've been experiencing while settling into our homestead here in Citrus Hills over the last 3 years. Is there a map available of the current flight paths, ascending and descending, and in the future plans? What are the guidelines for pilots currently now or concerning flight paths and altitudes away from the airport. Like, I figured 7 miles is far enough away from the airport to not have low-flying aircraft. That's my thought. Okay, now, now you and will there be any adjustments made after the runways expanded and, or for True North? Because I've been hearing a lot about this True North. I'm not a pilot, but I don't know if they're doing some adjustments to paths and stuff because of the change in the planet. Okay, question 4. How are the ones recreating and living on the ground considered in any expansion of a runway that will bring more fixed-wing aircraft over us? What is the safety plan for monitoring touch and goes over neighborhoods? And then the rest will be a statement here. Transparency is required, proactively engaging in early communication with the communities to ensure that they are well informed about upcoming changes in noise exposure, grasping the evolving aviation landscape. Florida boasts a wide network of airports, 140 airports, with 20 airports offering regular passenger and general aviation service. The other 109 are publicly used airports, and 11 of them are private use landing fields. We're not asking you to pay for our hobbies in currency, but in courtesy. Thank you. Average Floridians do not want a runway running through their homestead, neither do most enthusiasts. So let us spread awareness that living things on the ground are counting on you for their life. Have fun doing no harm, and consider this my notice.
Thank you. Could I bother you for your address
Yeah, it's on Fresno.
on Fresno?
Yeah, I don't want to say it on camera.
Yeah,
I gave
okay,
you the
okay.
numbers on here, okay?
Gotcha.
Because
I'm just trying to picture
I'm
on
already
Google-
having
Google
enough
Maps
issues.
exactly
and
where you are.
when I get to know you guys, you'll find out more of what I know.
Gotcha.
Okay?
So just a couple of things, just so you know. There's obviously a lot of training that goes on in Citrus County, both at the Inverness and Crystal River
Oh,
airports.
yeah.
Each has a flight school. The FAA in general provides that over densely populated areas, you have to maintain at least 1,000 feet above the ground, and above sparsely populated areas, at least 500 feet above the ground. Doesn't specify where the crossover is between sparsely and densely.
Well, I'm asking the community of all you guys that fly to care about the people on the ground.
If-
1,000 feet, okay, 1,000 feet with a Cessna 152, different than a PA-44. Okay, those planes, I already told you,
If I
they
could finish.
just do my nerves like this, so.
If I could finish.
Yes.
So, the flight schools take great care in ensuring that their instructors and their students know that when they do low-flying training exercises, which every pilot has to go through, that they do so away from neighborhoods, that they
Okay,
do so
that's-
away from where people live, to the extent that somebody inadvertently or carelessly violates that, we certainly count on, and I say
Is there
we-
a way, say
The-
that does happen to a neighborhood, is there a way for them to address that?
Yeah, it's literally as simple as the neighbor calling the airport, calling the local flight school, whether it's Crystal Air Group at Crystal River or Wright Rudder Aviation at Inverness.
Right rudder is great, honestly. I mean, I haven't had no problems with them
Good.
whatsoever. And as I said, you guys will get to know me a little bit more. I've had an incident in the past with an aircraft, and it was shoved under the ground. The whole thing was ignored. But that's not what this is about. This is about where I live now. And what I think it's mainly happening is they hit a point at 2,900 feet, and then they come down to us, and they figure out, oh, no, there's a hill here, and then they have to go back up again a little bit. So I don't know what like a plane comes up to an airport. You're flying. You're 7 miles out. When do you start coming in? When do you start getting to that low level? It's bad where I'm at, and it shouldn't be that way.
It's tough to answer your questions with all due respect, because every time I get a word out, you have something more to say. So it's difficult. I would love to answer all of your questions, but unless you let me, we'll just have to take it offline. A PA-44 is a training airplane, and training a multi-engine airplane, nobody has any business being below 3,000 feet. That is what the FAA mandates
well,
as far as
that's-
training exercises. So if they are training below 3,000 feet above the ground, that's a whole different story. And the manufacturer's handbooks all say multi-engine airplane need to be at least 3,000, if not 5,000 feet above the ground. When you're doing certain maneuvers that involve, for example, shutting down one engine or stalling the airplane deliberately in order to practice recovering from the stall. So to the extent somebody's 1,000 feet above the ground, 7 miles from the airport, I would agree with you. That's not. Now, I don't know who flies a PA-44. Crystal Air
I
Group
could let you know.
uses a Duchess, so that's a completely
They're
different
mainly coming
manufacturer.
from Orlando, and some are coming from down. One just recently, Ocala started doing it, and this one that happened the other day, he came out of Ocala and we're sitting on our patio, and he just came down to, I don't know, it was like 1,700 feet, and then spun around, like did this like kind of wave thing and kicked his wake at us. It's like, I mean, I know he's training or whatever, but that's not my problem.
That's not training.
Oh.
That's not training.
Okay.
Okay, so let us talk about that internally
Yes.
a little bit.
Yeah, I don't
and
want to
we'll,
ruin your meeting, and I just wanted to get this statement out so you guys know. Out further, we're having some issues, and I do see a lot of the touch and goes that go on around Crystal River, and I feel for the neighborhood.
Okay.
So,
Anybody else have anything?
I guess I'd just point out that the instrument approach to runway 27 goes right over Citrus Hill.
yep.
The intersection out there, minimum altitude is 1,800 feet. It comes down from 3,000 feet, and so I would say that anybody below 1,800 feet certainly not on the approach. So I'm not sure what they.
Yeah,
might
many
be
times it
doing.
happens. They come down to about 1,600, and then they realize, and then they do
Right.
this or do this wiggle thing. I don't know.
I'm curious how you know that what altitude they're at. Do you have where
Yeah,
you
because
monitor
I
them on
have
flight away or
done some
something?
research with ADS, and
okay.
we'll be putting an ADS exchange thing on our property because it comes out of Brandon right now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and I use FlightAware also. I'm a member there. I really would love to learn to fly myself. So, but I'm not flying one of those PA-44s.
Well,
no.
we start you off on a single engine airplane. anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. All right. Well, really, I'm not against you guys. I just want to live
Right.
on my property.
No.
And he did say the line goes over there, so maybe I'll see a map one time that shows me where that path is, because they cut it a lot. I have a bunch of examples of what happens, but,
Okay.
all right, well, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. That closes the public portion of the meeting. As far as new business goes, just want to take the opportunity to welcome our newest member of the Aviation Advisory Board, Mr. Patrick Crippen. We had a vacancy that was filled. We had a number of very capable candidates, highly qualified candidates. The Board of Commissioners chose Mr. Crippen. I had occasion to, I recall that he had run for sheriff at one point for Citrus County, and that's really all I knew of him. Then my wife told me that he and his wife had brought their cats to her practice, and I called him on the phone just to say hi, and he says, "You don't remember me, do you?" I said, "Well, no, I don't." It turns out he was one of my last students as a flight instructor back in '93 before I went over to the airline. So we have a connection that goes way back. Anyway, so welcome, Mr. Crippen. Members of the board in general, this is the start of a new year, and just want to talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going. In a minute here, we'll need to elect a new chairman and vice chairman. But before we do that, I just want to say a little bit about where we are, our bylaws, the bylaws under which we work. I don't know, Patrick, if you have a copy of them or not.
I do. Yeah,
We're all volunteers here. And so there's going to be plenty of times that we can't make meetings,
volunteer, I thought I was getting paid.
right? Yes, you will, and double what everybody else is getting paid, because it's your first year. But the thing to know is that we can't have a meeting unless we have a quorum, which means at least 4 members. So anytime that you are going to miss a meeting, we need to know. And we're gonna let the rest of the board know that by getting in touch with either Hannah or Todd and say, I'm not gonna be able to be here next month. I won't be able to be here next month. I will be down south. But that's perfectly okay as long as we know. And that's really all we ask. Sometimes it's a last minute thing, but ideally, as soon as you know that you're not going to be here, let Todd or Hannah know, and then we'll know whether or not. There were several times last year that we showed up, we only had 3 members, and so we ate a donut and said goodbye. And I don't want that to happen. Don't want to waste the county's taxpayer money by having staff show up, by having the room available, and so forth. When we have things to say, let's please remember Robert's Rules of Order and speak in turn. Make sure that easiest way to do that is to look at whoever the chairman is and say, okay, I got something to say. Okay, fine, go ahead and say it, and so forth. Just to keep a little bit of decorum going. Outside of that, try to be as informal as possible. We have no power. We have no authority over anything. We are an advisory board. So we're here to listen to the public, to listen to what's going on at the county level, and just really make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. And that's why we're here. So, having said that, I will take nominations for chairman for the coming year.
Mr.
From
Chairman?
anybody that's got something to
Yes,
say.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate to saddle you with that continued responsibility for the next term.
Would you now?
I would.
And you're not just saying that for the donuts
I'm not just saying that for the donuts or the coffee.
or the coffee?
Especially
Very
the
well.
coffee.
Okay, we have a nomination. Anybody else?
Move the nominations be closed.
I have a motion that the nominations be closed. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Patrick Crippen. Discussion? Those in favor say, and just want to let you know, I don't mind doing this. It's kind of fun sometimes, but I sure don't mind passing the gavel off to somebody else if they want to take over and have all the good times. But all that being said, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Abstain. Motion carries. I'll take a motion for vice chairman.
I move George.
Okay. George McDonald is nominated by Mark Klingel. Any other nominations?
I accept the nomination.
Okay, thank you. Motion to close the nominations.
So
Motion
moved.
closed.
So moved, so seconded. Anybody second? Somebody moved, 2 people moved.
Second.
Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you.
Having said that, let me say this. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, guys. It's worked so far. No reason for it to not continue on as before. Mr. Regan, not that I know how to spell it, but the CIP, it is something. So if you wouldn't mind reviewing it for us, that'd be great.
Capital improvement plan, did everyone receive it? Does anybody have any questions? This CIP, it goes out for 5 years. The first column is carry forward, and this includes airport landscaping and signs. The next one is Crystal Rivers wetland removal along 927. Part of that money in that project is tied into the runway extension.
A question for Crystal River runway extension, fiscal year 25-26. What does that dollar amount represent? What sort of activity does that dollar amount represent?
Money that's been set aside to help with that project. There's many facets of, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Is it design, is it construction, is it continued environmental assessment, or all of the above?
Part of it is for the environmental assessment, but it's everything you just named. It hits off of all of that, just
Okay.
a pot of money.
Thank you.
Next on that line is the, another amount for environmental assessment at Crystal River that we're conducting right now. Below that is, jumping to Inverness is the airspace obstruction clearing. So we do have some money in a pot saved for that, and then we have some coming up for fiscal year '26. And as you can see, every year, we're putting money aside because we're preparing the amount of obstructions that we're gonna have to remove. And then next is the business park. A little bit of remainder left over from that, and then money set aside for economic development and for the business park. Would you like me to keep going for each year? I mean, this can be subject to change. Definitely next year, some of these projects could shift around, but
The later pages, are these just more detailed breakdowns of what's on the first page?
no, the later pages are the operational budget that I wanted to discuss, and if there's any adjustments, any ideas that
I
can be
gotcha.
added to it.
I got you.
The CIP is just an overview of what's to come.
Question on your construction of the hangars. Is this going to be, are we talking aircraft hangars or basic hangars for aircraft, or are we talking a large box hangar?
Which item are you referring, is it on the CIP?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, for Crystal River?
Yeah,
That's identified for a T hangar.
T
The
hangars.
third row of T hangars. And, I mean, it's really all I got if anybody has any questions about the CIP.
Questions, anybody? I think we're good.
Okay.
Operating budget review?
All right. This was just a quick snapshot of what I've been pre-planning for. I do have a more extensive list on select items for this operational budget. But right now, I just put a dollar figure in there on past experiences and future projects to come around. Before I begin, does anybody have any questions with this so far? This is, the idea was designed to have more discussion, and if you have anything to add for the airports, anything you want to see, any improvements, a need, wish list.
So this is separate and apart from each of the respective air groups that operate each FBO, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this would be the county's operating budget.
That's correct.
Okay.
May I ask if this draft operating budget was also, copies of this was also given to the two FBOs?
It's yes, and it's also with the packet that was sent out.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if there are any representatives of the FBOs here that may want to address any of these items, I certainly would welcome that.
Do the FBOs have a copy of this?
Yes,
They do.
yes.
Okay. James, do you have any comments on the Crystal River portion of the operating budget?
I have not get a chance to review in detail, just very much. James Chen from Crystal River Group. I was curious about this current runway lights, taxiway lights, and all this maintenance item. Was that in relation to the budget?
Yes.
It is.
It is, and I'm also actively engaged with FDOT to look for a grant too for some funding.
Okay. Yeah, just for the board member, the advisory board member to know that Crystal Aero Group was the airport itself. We have several taxiway light bulbs, runway, and in the runway end identify lights. Some of them, it's not 100% out, but portion is out. To a degree, if we issue a note and based on the FAS specification, we have to noten them out, which will shut us the lifeline. So we do not want to do that. I'm just curious to see how that budget was allocated to that.
I did some research on those lights twice with two different people, and day and night, and we made a large count, and I got a kind of a soft quote on how much the ballpark figure to
get them
replace
repaired.
these, and there's just a lot of the lights at Crystal River are just an older model. The company, I don't think the parts are hard to find, so of course it makes them more expensive. So my idea is to just get more reliable parts, things that aren't as expensive, and replace that as quickly as we can.
Understood. Yeah, the rest of the items, I haven't get a chance to review this. I have no comments.
Thank you.
So, Todd, that brings up a good point
Yes.
that I'd like to ask, is that, in the past, we have, or at least I know I have asked as far as a continual maintenance, ongoing maintenance log, if you will, of where we have older equipment, as you just mentioned, that is more expensive to repair. Are there funding within our CIP that will slowly eliminate all the old equipment so that we've got newer equipment so that it's not as costly as far as repairs go?
Yeah, I'm going through the airport, and this is one big example of, what was, I think those lights were replaced quite a long time ago. And so here we are. And I am identifying certain pieces of equipment throughout both airports on what is probably gonna need to be replaced, and trying to get that preventive maintenance schedule going. So I'm following you, I'm on track.
Okay.
Whether it's a larger project, it'll be under a CIP, or if it's a smaller project and it can be in the operational budget, and if we can get funding, that'd be even better.
Okay. I mean, if we could just be apprised of these, as you are accomplishing them, so that we know that we've asked and you're sharing with us that,
Sure.
This was something that we had discussed, and it's reached its end of life, and we're having to replace it both at Inverness and Crystal River, or one or the other, then I would appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, and we're gonna be experiencing that, or we are right now with our AWAS. We're gonna be replacing one in Inverness. I know that's a larger project, and then Crystal River is, it's right behind it, and we're gonna be doing that too. So those are items that are over 15 years old. It's time. They're showing their age. One at Inverness right now has got some issues that, why am I gonna dump $10,000 into it when we're gonna be replacing those components? Just, luckily, it's nothing critical. So, yep, we're moving along, and I will. I'll keep the board informed.
Okay, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, I've got, back during the aviation consulting review that we had, one of the questions we had was assistant to you for maintenance and looking at issues. The last I heard from the county commissioners had not approved that yet. Is there any hope of getting it in for 25, 26?
Can you be more specific? Because
You had in our original bid back in December, they turned around and we were going to have an assistant to you for maintenance, for looking at, as a operator, to go through and check for maintenance and everything else, because you were one person trying to do all of this. Is there any hope of getting that into the 25, 26 budget?
Yes, there's always hope, I think. So, yeah, there's been a request to put in for that, and it's up to the county administrator to make that decision, and the board.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Kyle Mansfield, Right Rudder Aviation. Just wanted to say no comment on the budget, but we are greatly looking forward to the replacement of that AWAS and then the obstruction clearings as well, so we can get those
Yes.
PAPIs back working. So thank you guys.
You guys don't fly any Seminoles, do you?
No, no Seminoles. We had no
think so.
Seminoles, so we're good there.
Thank you. Anything else on the budget? Todd? Board? Nothing? Okay, so before we go into old business, just want to point out that you'll see that the agenda has been significantly expanded from what it's been in the past. This is something that Todd and I undertook together to sort of provide us with more information up front ahead of time as to each of these projects. The idea being that we'll have the opportunity to review them at our own pace ahead of time, so that there's no reason to necessarily speak to it in such detail as we move forward in the meeting. So my thought, without objection, is to simply go to each subject matter, ask the members of the board if you have any questions, ask Mr. Regan if he's got any updates, and seeing none, simply move on to the next. Anything that we need to talk about, that we have questions about, this is the place to do it. But hopefully this way we can get through some of the items, particularly the ones that have no new updates, a little bit more expeditiously, and save more time for the subjects that do take more time. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so, power line ball markers on West Penn Street, I understand it's done. Take it off the agenda for next time.
That's right.
Very nicely done. Runway 9 GPS approach. No new updates. We've got the LP mins, not yet the LNAV. We don't have the LP mins. We have the LNAV mins. Questions? Updates? Airport minimum standards. It's under legal review, and in 2 months, ICE will be ready to provide us with a complete update review of this in lurid detail, as I understand it. Is that true, Daniel?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Questions? Updates? Inverness Fire Station? Any updates, Todd?
No new updates at the time. Nope.
Okay. Questions from the board? The hangar status report, we are pretty well full, with the exception of the 3 vacancies in Inverness, which look like they're about to be filled. Questions on that? Board of County Commissioner updates, nothing to update at this time, unless was there anything passed at the last meeting, Todd, that's worth talking about?
There were 3 grants, and they're baked into this update. One was the Aegis grant from FDOT. The other one was for the master plan, and then the AWAS.
Okay, good deal. Runway 927 extension, schedule provided at our next meeting. Looking forward to that. Comments, questions about that? Fuel tank replacement at Crystal River, hopefully be awarded by the BOCC later in March. Bid submission deadline February. Do we have anybody that's submitted a bid this time?
Well, we're not there just yet, but we had a lot of, it was a stark difference between the first time we did this compared to the second time. I don't know how many screens you can have up during teams, but it looked like they're all filled to me. It must have been over 15, 20 people. But
Wow.
some of those could have been county, you know, just
And where were these people last time?
we casted a wider net.
Okay, nicely done. The Crystal River Aegis survey that was something that went in front of the board this past Tuesday?
It was, yep, the FDOT grant was, yep.
Okay, and did they
approved it.
They approved it. Nicely done.
So now those grants, they will go back to FDOT for their final signature, hopefully swiftly, and then when it gets back to me, then we'll start the work authorization process.
Very good. Inverness Business Park, amendment to the contract plan for the March 25th BOCC meeting. Anything to add to that?
For me, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you were asking the board. I should have been looking at you. All the work has been done. We're just waiting on Swift Mud to sign off and make that DRA operational.
Good deal. Inverness corporate hangar, lease terms have been drafted, submitted for review, and waiting response from the interested party. Have we heard anything since last Friday?
No.
Okay. Master plan and disadvantaged business enterprise.
Same
What is a
thing.
disadvantaged business enterprise?
How could Daniel, do you mind explaining that? So he'll do a better job than me.
Hello. Good afternoon, Daniel Ossie with Infrastructure Consulting Engineering. Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE, is a federally mandated program as part of your Airport Improvement Program grants, and FDOT adopts that language as well. And so what it does is it provides opportunities for disadvantaged businesses, both women, veterans, minority, and it's per your service area. So each airport, each project, you develop a goal over 3 years, give it to the FAA, they approve it, and then each project where you get grant funding, a portion of that, it could be anywhere from a couple percentage points where you have to, it's not a set aside, but ensure that you have good faith efforts in including those contractors, both in the design phase and the construction phase. Some in different areas could be as high as 30%. Usually it's somewhere around 5 to 10%.
Okay.
And so this program will update those goals for 3 years based on the CIP projects that you have planned and the FA funding that will go along with it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions? The AWAS replacement, how did the board vote on that this past Tuesday?
Approved.
Wonderful. So what's the timeline for getting a new AWAS installed in Inverness?
Well, let me see here. Get it back from FDOT, maybe get it to the board sometime in April for a work authorization, and then well, the work's not gonna take long. That's only gonna take a few days. Paperwork takes the longest.
Okay,
I'm hoping this summer.
okay, good deal.
Yep.
I know Kyle will be happy. All right. And that is all for major projects. We have no minor projects to update. I understand we do have a presentation. Please.
Yes, Chris, please step forward. All right.
Good afternoon, Chris Moling. I'm with DRC Sports, here representing them on behalf of the Citrus County Education Foundation. I also am a proud owner of a Cessna 172 and a Mooney 231, and hangared in Inverness, and have been an active member of the community since I received my training over at Crystal River, courtesy Mr. Carr as well, some of it. So I have knowledge of the airports and a lot of the stuff that's happening here. But what we are coming to ask you guys and present to you guys is an opportunity for the Citrus County Kids Triathlon. It's a small triathlon that we have here in the county that actually has about 400 kids that participate in it, which makes it, within the state of Florida, one of the largest kids triathlons in the state. We've just recently been granted part of the USA Triathlon Florida Championship Series for kids triathlon, so that I just got an email on that last week. So that's pretty exciting for us, and that's going to bring kids from all over the state to come up and participate. An idea that I had floated last year, kind of at the last minute, but I spoke with James about it a bit, is we take place at the Bicentennial Park. The event takes place there. There's a junior course and a senior course. The senior course is a little longer, so there's a 3-mile bike involved on the senior course. Now, if you know Bicentennial, you know there's not 3 miles of road in and out of there this side of 19. So we've had to run laps through there with the kids and do things in the past. What we really wanted to do was to bring them out onto the airport property, run them down the runway, and use that for the one loop for the senior course. The junior course is only 1.5 miles and would never enter the airport property. I do have a map that we can show you guys and kind of, I sent Todd, so you can get an idea of the route, what we're looking at here. It starts up by the pool area. The transition area where the kids get on the bike is that blue box, but that's on one of the ball fields. The kids would ride out, make the turn, and then enter through the back gate and go in the back taxiway. Enter taxiway Alpha, go down and run it in a counterclockwise motion, so it's all right turns there coming in and out of the drop. Making their way around and then back out. One lap around, one time for the kids. They do 6 laps in the pool. They would do 3 miles on the bike, and then they would do 1.5 miles, 1 mile on the run around the ball field. So their entire time for each kid is about 25 minutes to do the entire course. But because we do them in the pool one at a time, the last kid going in the pool may be 30 or 40 minutes after the first kid. So we've got about an hour of operational time max on that property. Our management of it, I mean, I've been managing races since 1999. We do races all over the Florida and South Georgia. We manage 43 events a year currently. We do 4 kids tries. So my team has got it nailed as far as that goes, as far as management of it. Our course marshals that we would place out here to would all be vetted and made sure they're secure to be put out on the airport property. We would have a deputy assigned at the gate. That's the only access in and out. And the only other individual would be the kids. There wouldn't be no parents, no spectators, nothing actually on that. The big advantage is we're able to fold in the airport and say, hey, this takes place, on the runway, and kids can ride on the runway. For any that aren't familiar, I mean, you can Google 5K, runway 5Ks, and they're all over the country. It's not uncommon for airports to shut down, file a NOTAM and shut down a runway for a period of time to have this. One of the concerns that James had was the impact on his business, and we understand that too. So I've spoken with the Education Foundation, and we're looking to make a small stipend to him that would help offset any costs or loss of revenue he might get for that hour and a half, or 2 hours that we're closing the runway that morning, for loss of anybody that may come in and buy fuel or something like that. I mean, you guys are all pilots, we could have dense fog till 10 a.m. that morning. Nobody's going to fly anyway. So the reality is, it's not that it can't be done. It's just how are we going to manage it, and we're going to manage it properly. Part of our timeline, and if you'll pull the timeline up, Todd, you can show that. I buffered it a little bit on each side to give us enough time so we're not, critical. But just came up with a basic timeline for you guys that would be on the NOTAM. Around 700, we would go ahead and close the runway. That would give us, the race starts at 8. That would give us a full half hour to put all the stuff in place that we need, do a sweep of the course and make sure everything's ready. So at 7:30, we've got a green light, all the people are in position for the 8 o'clock start. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. That gives you the timeline, how the swimmers go in and out. But the last bike would be off the course about 8:35. Now, I ran the NOTAM until 9:30 only because we need to make sure we do a FOD sweep and we get people out there and make sure everything's good, locked up and secure. But I would estimate comfortably that we could have it back open by 9 a.m., even though the NOTAM might be listed till 9:30. We would open the airport as soon as the last bit is done and the sweep is done and it's secure. And that's our proposal. So, I mean, we're looking to work with Todd, and he's working with the FAA to get that approved and get the NOTAM issued. But if there's any concerns or questions, I'd be glad to talk about it. Yes, Charlie?
Who would provide the exits for the end of the runway to show people that came
Well,
in?
that's the question we had. We didn't know if the county owned them. If not, then we would rent them to have them brought out. So it would be no cost to the county.
And who's the personnel that would set up whatever needs to be set up and then clear the FOD after?
My staff, but I would like to ask James or somebody from the county to have a representative there, only because my guys, I mean, they'll do a good job, but I want somebody official that says, hey, everything's off, so that afterwards, if something is found on the runway, they're not like saying, oh, well, the kid, from the kids race, that was there. So we would do a sweep with my staff and somebody from either the airport or the county to do that and make sure that there's nothing left on the runway. We don't expect anything, obviously, but we would do a sweep of that and make sure.
Right.
Most of the course marshals are in place for kids, right? They'd be on the crossovers and stuff, on the taxiway crossovers, so the kids don't just decide to make a left and cut it short. They have to go the full route. So most of them are out there just for that given direct. Yeah, they will, because if they see their friend over there, they just make a turn and go. But
So the thought is that you would place markers at various points on the taxiways and/or runway?
we place the X's at the end for the aircraft,
Sure.
and then we use plasticades, which is a plastic A-frame sign that has arrows that we would place the arrows around to direct the kids, so they know whether to turn or go straight around that loop. There'd be about 8 signs out there on that taxiway area and runway. And again, my guys would pick them up. They're not mounted or placed anything. They're just plastic. But we place them out and they'll be put out and picked up in minutes.
What day of the week are you planning?
This is Saturday. It's scheduled for March 16th. No, March 8th. I'm sorry.
You mean May?
May. No, it's March.
It's March?
I'm sorry. Yeah, they moved it back from March. It's not there. Hold on. It is. Yeah, it's March. Is that possible now? Originally, it was always on Mother's Day weekend, but they moved it off of Mother's Day weekend because of Publix Supermarkets is one of their major sponsors, and they couldn't do it. And so the new date is that second weekend in March.
In March.
This is a great opportunity, and I'll do my best to.
Understood.
Get with the FAA and see if I can. There's an escalation protocol for the.
So the reason for that is, just so you know, I just had to sign the permit today. The county hadn't issued us a permit until today because the pool was being redone. Bicentennial Pool was being redone. The tile was delayed. They didn't even know if it was gonna happen. So when I got the phone call that said, last week from Eric that said, hey, the tile's in, we're not gonna make our February 14th date, but we will be ready for you guys in March. Then I reached out to Todd and said, okay, can we try to make this happen and go from there? So we understood if the FSDO or FAA doesn't have time to process it, okay, I'd like to make the effort and I do appreciate it and we're trying, but if nothing else, then next year, we'd look for it for the next year if possible. But everything on my side is ready to go. I just didn't want to waste your time bringing it to you if we didn't even have a permit.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
Chris, let me just.
Yes, sir.
First blush, and of course, my insurance background, someone says liability. What happens when we have because we have a lot of young pilots going across countries, may have just got past solo, haven't read a NOTAM, don't know what an X on a runway is. What happens if they're coming in and see these runners on the airport? First question. Second question, we've got an unexpected emergency landing. Has to come in. How do you stop the racing?
Okay, let me address those in both parts. Number one, there's always something unforeseen that we can't fix, stupid, if you will, if somebody's doing something they're not supposed to do. We would rent the big X's, the big lighted X's like they do for construction that would indicate a runway closure. My staff will be trained by me personally to be aware of that things and things that are out there and be in place, to answer your second question, to move those kids off. So if something were to happen, an emergency were to take place, whoever's monitoring the radio chatter and says, hey, we've got an aircraft coming in and it's going to be an emergency landing, we have enough staff in place to move those kids to the grass area at least and get them off the runway in emergencies, maybe to the taxiway. I don't think we can get them out of that area. It might take a few minutes, but to answer your possible liability-wise, we carry insurance. USA Triathlon provides the insurance for the event, and so does Citrus County Education Foundation on an insurance. But of course, safety is a primary concern. So if we had a King Air say, "Hey, I'm coming in and I've got to land and that's it," then we would activate our team because everybody has radios, and we would just start moving kids off and over to the taxiway.
No, I do understand.
Okay.
Being a non-controlled field, control tower field is different. We can
Understood.
control it. There are young pilots they're afraid to even use the radios, and it's like, okay.
Yep.
So.
But our plan would be to have somebody on the radio on the CTAF there during the event. So if we saw airplane approaching, we could communicate with them, let them know it's a closure and things like that. Things that aren't even done. If they're painting the runway, they just put the X's up and that's it. And the NOTAM's filed, and nobody's out there monitoring anything.
Well, we don't have kids on.
Right, understood. That's what I'm saying. So for us, we would escalate that to that level and then make those, have those extra things in place. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that there's going to be one deputy
There'll be
assigned?
one deputy at the gate, so monitoring who goes in and out to make sure no unauthorized people go on the airport property. We have a second deputy, if you look on the map, that's located up right just past the entrance to the FBO. We turn cars around there so nobody drives down and has to turn around and come back out. They let them know there that that property is closed for that morning.
That's where the stars are, right?
Correct. I just put a green star, make it easy, right? But the first one's right past the airport entry. That's where the first deputy's stationed, and he just lets any cars know that say, hey, I want to go to Bicentennial Pole. It's closed till noon today, okay? And then the second deputy would be at the gate where they go on airport property to make sure that no unauthorized folks go on the airport property or come and go. Because that gate would be open for that hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it is. Yes, sir.
Question, since you've been involved with these all over, do you ever have anyone from the county official actually out on the runway?
I've not done a runway myself, so I'll be full
Oh,
disclosure.
okay.
I've never done they're done a lot, but my business has never done a runway event before. But when I spoke to Todd, I wanted a county official there simply for that reason, and then to do the FOD sweep at the end.
Okay, so
But-
my thought with that questioning, along with what Gene was saying, is to have somebody from the county official on the runway so that if the situation does turn dire, that there is a county official out there, while albeit you've got your radios going, that is going to be the boots on the ground, ensuring that your staff are moving the children off.
100%.
Okay.
100%. I mean, our job is to make sure, again, that every kid gets through this thing safely. And so we will be monitoring all of that. I plan to have, like, say, somebody on the CTAF just watching for traffic. If somebody starts approaching the airport, reach out and touch them and say, hey, what's going on? Are you aware of the NOTAM? It's closed, that kind of thing. Just because, like you mentioned, Gene, there's people out there that don't talk a lot or don't use radios a lot. But if we can reach out and do that. If something were to happen and we were to have a situation, my folks would be in place to move those kids. It is just so you know, there'll be about 100 kids in that wave involved in that, but it's a time trial start because they go in the pool one person at a time every 10 seconds. So they come out of the pool about every 10 seconds. They go out on the bike course about every 10 seconds. So about every 10 seconds apart, you have kids strung out. There won't be 100 kids on that runway at one time. There may only be 20, may only be 12 at one particular time on that entire loop out on the runway. So we're not having to move a bunch of people. It's moving maybe a dozen kids, maybe 15 kids off that way, or maybe only 4 or 5 that are actually on the runway at that point that we would move over to the taxiway in that situation. And I'd be glad. I mean, I do safety plans all the time, guys. So if it comes to an ops plan that, we need to come up with something specific, I'll help write an ops plan with your input, anybody, that we have a procedure in place, so we have a plan, Dennis, or Doug, so that everybody knows what to do. And, and if we give a code red or whatever we want to call it, it just happens. So, but we put kids out on roads all the time, and do, barricade closures and all kinds of stuff like that. We place police officers and law enforcement people on there to help block it and everything. We can't control everything, but we do a darn good job of controlling almost everything. And so I'm comfortable with my staff and their abilities. And like I say, we would just train them up for this specific duty and the responsibilities that would go with that.
Anybody else have a question?
Just some comments. Over the last few years, we've had a number of different groups come in and want to, shut down the airports or parts of the airports to do various activities. I'm personally am very supportive of the idea of giving members of the public opportunity to come in and witness, see where their tax dollars are going, see what's going on out there. EAA does a great job of that with their Young Eagles program. I'm less enamored of programs that say, well, we want to shut down the runway. We've had things like people want to do car races, rallies, bike races, this sort of thing. And it gets to be an issue of if you let it go once, how many times a year are you going to have to shut that down in order to give the same opportunity to other people? So I have a lot of concerns about that. The runways are to facilitate airplanes, to facilitate members of the aviation community that travel here. and to support the operations of the FBOs. I don't think they should be used for this type of activity, whether it's a car race, bike race, or this kind of thing. You know, we're just, you know, we're dealing, as a board, we're constantly dealing with threats to the runway. It could be DOT wants to widen the road. It could be some, you know, aircraft, you know, the runways are constantly being, you know, attempts to shorten them, you know, cut down the usable distance and that sort of thing. So we're very, very sensitive about, or at least I'm very sensitive about the idea of taking a runway out of service for a non-aviation event. So that's kind of my thoughts on the subject. I do appreciate and recognize that you've come here with a good plan for how you've thought how you want to manage it, and it's good intent and all that. I just don't think that's a good, I personally don't think this is a good use of the runway to shut the airport down for this event.
And I would just ask you guys to do a little research. And I appreciate George. It's not uncommon. There's a precedent out there. It's very common for runways to be shut down at airports way larger than this one, all over the country, for like 5K runs and things like that. It's a common thing they use as a community involvement piece to bring the community into the airport and kind of fold them in. Everything you said, understood, but there is a precedent, and it's out there, and it's not uncommon, and it's done and managed very well, I believe, every weekend somewhere in this country on some runway.
Patrick? Into the mic, please.
The only thing I would say is that you're really not closing the run, you're closing the runway down, but you're not closing 36 and 18 down.
That's correct.
So, God forbid, you got some knucklehead out there that wants to land on 18, and you got kids out there in the west end of the runway. That kind of bothers me a little bit.
Okay.
But
Yeah, me too. I think it might be appropriate.
I like the idea, though. I think it's kind of cool, and I don't know. I just don't. My vote would be, if you're going to do it, close them both down.
I agree.
18, 36, and 27.
Understood. And whatever makes it safer, and that's a good input there. I mean, we're open to whatever your recommendations are, honestly. I mean, it's a 90-minute window for us, mostly, about the closure, to get in there, have the kids participate on it, get them out safely, sweep it, make sure everything's good, and then reopen it back to normal traffic. But
Anybody else? James? Oh, I'm sorry.
Carl.
Just quick question do we have a policy for airport usage other than for airport purposes? Do we have a policy?
We do have a form to fill out that our risk assessment department will take a look at, and a lot of it's just, well, who are you, what are you doing, do you have insurance, and things like that. So I know that does exist.
Okay, so we do have something
Yes.
in place.
Correct.
Okay, that's kind of where I was going with it. The educational component, I'm all over that part, because, you know, we've tried to do a good job of branding in the community for both Crystal River and for Inverness. I think this would be a great opportunity to be able to showcase this, and I understand your concerns, George, and I take heart in that, and that's why I was wanting to know, you know, where are the deputies, where's everybody gonna be? Communications has got to be at its 120% in this situation, just to be prepared for the unknown.
Mr. Chen?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Number one, I'd like to just vouch for Chris. I've been involved in many triathlons, kids triathlons, 5Ks that Chris has run over our county. And like he said, he runs them statewide, so he's very good safety minded that way. I think we just need to research it, touch base county commissioners. We have to have their blessings, I'm sure, before we go forward with anything on it. We find out, and I'm sure liability is gonna come up, so it's like, we just gotta address that.
I will say, just a quick Google search, Miami International hosts a community engagement event that allows up to 2,500 people to run on runway 8 left 26 right. Philly hosts an annual 5K runway run in partnership with the March of Dimes. Washington Dulles hosts an annual runway run. Charlotte Douglas International Airport, the Charlotte 5K, JFK, Atlanta. And so it's not unknown. It's not that it's ever not done. In any case.
Thank you.
James. James, obviously your business would be affected to some extent. This could provide more publicity for your business. It
Yeah,
will
I just
obviously
want to
shut
have
the business
a
down for a bit.
quick comments. I recall I saw this similar map last year, and this effort was proposed to us for the last year for the same event. We opposed it for a few reasons. One is anything involved, basically the activity occurred for the community at the airport have the activity involve the runway closure or non-runway closure. That's two different categories. FAA had very specific guidelines, and we need to get approval from the FAA. Even I wanted to run and close the runway, we have to need the FAA to approve, and there was a approval process. And last year, I recall that we just were running out of time, and we couldn't do that. So I was surprised that this was proposed again with such a short time notice. We could have applied it for the entire year earlier and get the FAA approval, and then all the insurance, all the safety, that's coming second. If we don't have FAA blessing, and we couldn't do that. Now, about the business part, I am all supportive to your education component. Get the kids. Last year, I remember I saw them at the gate. They were running from the Centurion Park. It was very successful. They did a great job over there. We're all supportive on that. It's not just we were going to close the runway for a couple of hours. We're going to lose a fuel cell. That doesn't bother me. Okay, I don't really need extra money to compensate for that. I'm here to say, as the FBO running, it sounds simple just to close the runway, issue a note, and it's not. It's much more involved. So thank you for the considerations. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so in that light, I mean, we recognize that this was a short turn. We wanted to get this going earlier, but because of the pool closure, we were told back in November that the pool may or may not be open, they would not issue a permit. So I didn't want to even start the process and move it that way because it would be a lot of work to get it done and approved, and then it wouldn't happen. So I thought the best option was just to wait and see. I didn't think it would take till now. I thought it would be in January. But now that we have that, I'm here. So all I'm asking at this point is a consideration on your part. If Todd's able to work some magic, and get the FAA to approve that, that would be fantastic. But I think moreover, what's important is to work with James and the rest of you guys. If it's a 2026 thing, we're fine with that. We do want it. If it takes a year to get it going, we're fine with that. We just want to open this up and make it happen. Unfortunately for this year, because of the pool closure, nothing really started again until, till the last minute. So I apologize about that. And again, I would just, if Todd can make it happen, understand that I can make it happen on our side. Whatever you guys need, if we get the FAA approval, we can facilitate everything else on our side and make that happen in that time frame. I have an A plan and a B plan, and we'll go with either one. But if it doesn't happen this year, we would like to request, for 26 for sure to get that process started and give those dates and get it moving. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I do have a few questions, if you don't.
Sure.
If I'm so allowed. Chris, do you have any other dates in mind? You're probably going to want to. Yeah. Sorry, I just sat down. Okay. No, you're good. Do you have any other
For
dates?
this year, no. The problem is that, again, the pool and the park has a full schedule with their ball schedule and everything else. So we were fitting it, into a tight timeline before Little League starts. So we had to get it in there. The May date worked because that was a gap in the Little League schedule, because they don't want Mother's Day either. So they had a gap in their schedule. But the reality is the Education Foundation wanted to move it back in early in the year, and that's why we landed on this particular date. There's no other date for this particular year. There will be a discussion after this event. We do our debrief, and then we talk about 26. They'll pick another date. But we won't know that date until that event, until I meet with the Education Foundation and they select what week they want for 26. And that's a conversation with Eric, and Terry's the new Parks and Rec. If you guys know her, she's awesome. But we work with them to see what's available for Bicentennial Park, in weekends that are available around the ball schedule.
Okay. Can anyone sign up?
Yes, it's open to kids from 5 to 15, and they have to be a USA Triathlon member. But it's a $5 fee to become a member, and the Education Foundation pays their membership. So when the kids pay, they only charge $25 to enter this event. It's not a moneymaker; it's for the kids, and so the Education Foundation puts that together, and every kid becomes. But it is open to kids anywhere. We have children coming from all over the state. Different triathlon teams that will come in, and with it being a championship, it will definitely bring us more kids from the South Florida area is pretty well populated, and the Jacksonville area has a good group as well. So we know those teams will come in and add to it for us.
Okay. Have you started racing already, or are we the first airport, or have you started races already? Or is this the first airport that you're going to start?
This is the first one I've ever done at an airport.
Okay.
But I've done races.
Okay, well, you said it's a championship. I wasn't sure.
The championship they had one race that happened last weekend. There are 6 races in the series, and it goes all the way to November.
Oh, wow.
So this one plugs in. This will be race number 2 of their 6 race series around the state.
Is there any opportunities for any other support, whether it could be someone like a food vendor or just more public involvement? Or
Anything that happens all up at Bicentennial Pool. Okay. So we do. They have food. They have vendors, sponsors that sign on to help pay for the event with the Education Foundation. So everybody can get involved in that aspect of it. Because here's the difference. When I put on a regular triathlon for adults, if there's 400 people at that triathlon, I got 400 cars, and I have 412 people there. If I put on a kids race with 100 kids, I got 600 people there, because they bring mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, everybody's loading up in the minivan, and they all come out. So we have a great, it's a good spectator kind of driven event, and you get a lot more exposure that way. So it's a fun event. I request any of you guys to please come out that morning. There's nothing better than seeing these little kids with training wheels and tassels hanging off their bike, pedaling. It's just great. It's a great fun event, and it gets the kids outside, and they're not doing this. So.
So you talked about this course, and if we can't use a runway because of time constraints, what is your plan B? Would it be similar to last year?
Yeah, roll up. Can you go up one on that screen? That'll be the junior course. Yep. Go down. Yeah. Okay, that. So that is the junior course, which we would do in 2 laps. So that's a 1.5 mile loop, and then we would do that twice to get the 3 mile. That's what we've been doing the last 2 years. So this race was originally at Whispering Pines, but it outgrew that facility, and so we moved over here to Bicentennial, and we're holding it here. But again, we run right up. They turn around at the front, and then there's a loop around, but they turn around at the gate. You'll see down there outside the gate. So the entire course is outside of airport property, and they would just do 2 laps.
Okay. I'll get you the form from Risk and for the event, and we'll start from there.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you very
much. From my point of view, I agree with everything that's been said here today. I think it's a wonderful educational opportunity, really good publicity for the airport, to the extent that a 15-year-old kid rides his bike along the runway. Hopefully he'll think, boy, wouldn't it be cool to taxi an airplane and take off on this runway as well. What ages are the seniors?
Seniors are 12 to 15.
12 to 15. Okay, so prime fodder
Exactly.
for starting to think about the flying lessons. So that's a beautiful thing. Obviously, as Gene said, this is an uncontrolled airport, which means that you don't have to have a radio, you don't need a transponder, you don't need ADSB out, you don't need anything. So when you've got folks there that are watching these kids, they've got to keep an eye out for, they've got to be like referees. Don't watch the game, you have to watch for the fouls. Don't watch the kids, you got to watch for airplanes, because they'll come in completely unannounced and low level, flying over people's houses at 1,100 feet in a Seminole, whatever, and then coming in and landing on top of a bunch of kids riding their bikes.
Well, I plan to meet with Barry, this guy Barry that's part of EAA. He's awesome, and we talked to maybe getting Barry to bring out a few of his folks to help us do the monitoring of the airspace.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. So I wish you luck in terms of getting this thing going. It's a shame that it's such a short timeline. Anything we can do to help, just let us know.
Like I say, Todd's willing to do the work and get it through. We'll do on our side. Charlie, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to ask Todd, is Board of County Commissioners have to take action to approve or not approve?
Not that I know of, but you want to vote.
Yeah.
I guess that was really my question. If they do they want a recommendation from this board?
I don't think it would hurt if you voted.
I don't think that they're going to be able to have it on their agenda in time.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But I don't.
So,
Mr. Chairman, what I would like to do is make a motion, doesn't address whether we think this is a good idea or not a good, I'm sorry?
A bit louder.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that, folks. I'd like to make a motion, not on the issue of whether or not this is a good idea or not, but I would like to make a motion that for our next meeting, we agenda an item to develop a policy document, recommended policy document, that addresses how non-aviation related activities like this can be reviewed and in certain circumstances okayed by the Board of County Commissioners. Carl made an excellent point that we do need this policy document. My concern is that this one goes, next year it's dogs, 3 months after that it's bicycles, then the car people come in, and then we have to think very carefully about what activities benefit the airport and don't cause economic hardship or work hardship to the FBO operators and things like that. I'm seeing from all the discussion that this is probably not a bad idea in terms of our bigger goal of having community participation at the airports. But I'm thinking, we're lacking a policy document to kind of guide us how to make these decisions. So I would like to make a motion there for Mr. Chairman that our next meeting we start work on a policy document to address these kinds of issues.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Charlie seconds. Discussion? The only thing I'll say to this is that that we all, before this comes before us next month, which I won't be here for, so you folks will have to figure this out on your own. Do some research online to see what all happens nationwide. I know the FAA put some significant limitations on non-aeronautical use of airport properties, and there's some restrictions there's some limitations, and then there's approval requirements. And to the extent that it's something that can be done safely, particularly when it's something that promotes aviation in general overall, it may be something this board can see fit to recommend. But outside of that, I would certainly agree that it's important that we develop some sort of guidelines as to what we're looking for and what we'd be happy with and what we'd be really uncomfortable with. Anybody else have anything? That being the case, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris. Very much appreciated. Okay. No tower updates, no security updates, nothing to note as far as board communication. Anybody else from the public have anything they'd like to say? By the way, I'd like to have everybody join me in congratulating Mr. Carlton Hall for his promotion recently at the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday. Couldn't ask for a better person to do the job, Carlton. Thanks for stepping up, and looking forward to working with you on a full-time basis now, no longer interim. Next meeting will be March 13th, 2 o'clock, right here. Thank you very much for coming. If we have nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Moved by Carl,
Second.
second by both George and Gene. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.